In today's tutorial, I would be sharing how to cut and sew a simple pencil skirt with hip contouring, giving you that perfect shape when you wear your skirt. My name is Ayomide, and on this channel you would find DIY sewing tutorials and pattern drafting tutorials. In today's tutorial, I'll be sharing how I made this skirt. It is a bandless skirt. There is no waistband whatsoever, and it's just very easy and simple to make. If this is something you're interested in, then come along and let us make this skirt together. To begin this tutorial, this is the Ankara fabric that I worked with. It is 3 yards, and honestly I did not exhaust the entire 3 yards for this, and I made this skirt for a size 8 individual. Okay, the first thing I'll go ahead and do is to place my fabric on fold, as you can see right here. Next, I'll be ruling a line at the topmost part of my pattern where all of my measurements would be taken from. From that line that I marked, I will be marking 7.5 inches downward, and this would be the hip line. Next, I'll be marking 24 inches downward, and this would be the knee line. Afterwards, I marked 43 inches downward, and that was the full length line, including half an inch for sewing allowance. I went ahead to rule all the lines across. On the waistline, the first line I drew, I'll be marking a quarter of the waist measurement, 1 inch dart allowance, and 1.5 inch side seam allowance. On the hip line, I marked a quarter of the hip measurement and 1.5 inch side seam allowance. Moving on to the knee line, I deducted 1 inch from a quarter of the hip measurement just to have a fitting around the knee line. I also included my side seam allowance of 1.5 inch. As for the ankle line, I marked the exact measurement I have on the knee line right on the ankle line, which is also the full length line. I proceeded to connect all of this measurements together. This is what the front is looking like. Very easy and simple to cut. But then while cutting, I realized that I used 24 inches for the waist to knee. However, for the skirt, ideally you should use between 18 to 19 inches. So this is me here marking 19 inches. When I'm working on a trouser, normally I could use 23 or 24 inches. So here I'm going over to readjust the measurements and place the exact measurement I have on the former waistline, on the former knee line rather, on the new knee line, and I'm blending it down. Next, I'll go ahead and trim off the excess. So really the excess I'm trimming off is not so much, but this is just the way to do it. So this is what my skirt pattern is looking like after the alteration. Moving on to the back, I have placed my Ankara fabric on fold. I've also placed my front fabric on it. I left about 1.5 inch here for the zipper allowance at the back and other alterations I would be doing. I have marked my hip line across to the center back. I'm marking my knee line across right here. I would also mark my waistline across. So to proceed, the first thing I'll do is to take out about 0.75 inch from the center back. I'll be connecting that to the edge of the folded line on the center back in this manner. Afterwards, coming down to the knee line, I'll be marking 1 inch inward from the fold. I'll mark it all the way down to the length. I'll connect from my hip line right here to that 1 inch that I marked inward. Then I'll proceed to connect it downward into a straight line until I get to the hem. Now coming to the side, that's 0.75 inch I took away from the center back. I'll place it on the side right here. This is just to ensure that I'm not short of measurement. I'll redraw my hip line, and that 1 inch I took in from the knee line, I'll just place about 0.75 inch on the side, and I'll mark it all the way down to the hem. I'll connect all of them together. After which I will be cutting this out. And this is just a way to modify your basic princess skirts in order to achieve a perfect fitting. I am done cutting, and this is what my skirt is looking like. I have the front and the back fabric pieces. It is now time to begin sewing. So to begin, I've also gone ahead to cut out the lining. The only difference between the main fabric and the lining is that the lining is shorter by half an inch at the length, and this is because I want to have a turnover of the fabric on the inside to make it look very neat. That is the only difference. I also cut out lining for the back likewise, and the lining is also short by about half an inch. Okay, so to go and proceed with the sewing, I'll be illustrating with the front. First thing I'll do is to sew in my dart allowance of 1 inch. I'll sew this in on my main fabric and also on the lining. I'll do this for both the front and the back. Here I am done sewing. You can see I've gone ahead to sew in my darts. That is the front, and this right here is the lining for the front. To proceed, I will then turn the lining with the fabric, and to do that, I'll place my lining on my fabric right sides facing each other. I'll sew it down along the waistline. Remember, there is no band for this skirt. I'll also sew it down along the hem and proceed to sew it down along the sides. So while sewing it down along the sides, I'll leave a space on one area so that I'll be able to turn my fabric to the right side. I'll do this for both the front and the back fabric pieces. I am done sewing, and this is what it is looking like. This is the waistline, and this is the hem. This is the turnover that I was talking about. It just has a way of making your garments, your skirts look neat. This is the front, and this is one part of the back. I did likewise stitch it down along the waistline. This is the hem also. So moving on, it is now time to join. What I'll do is to join them together by the sides, mark out my seam allowance and join it together on both sides, and also fix my zipper along the center back, and I'll be showing us the outcome. Guys, this right here is the outcome of the skirt. It's so simple and easy to make. I'm sure you must have learned something from this tutorial. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a huge thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, kindly click on the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. Goodbye and stay blessed.